Hello, and welcome to Races. If you've not watched the first video, then please do, as stats are very important to this video. Nevertheless, let's get started on races. So what is a race? Races are what type of creature your character is, be it from a native, reincarnated or even a crimson demon, but what is the difference? Let's start with native. The native are pretty self-explanatory. They are the natives to this fantasy world, be it from elves to mermaids to orcs. Because of this, the native race has been made into a jack of all trades, meaning they can fit most these roles, even if it feels like it half fills it. For stats, natives get a 9 in strength, so they are stronger and have more health than normal. However, every other stat is 8, meaning they are on the edge of having a modifier of 3, which we want. This isn't all we get, however. When we start we also get access to their race skills, even getting one for free. The skills are the following: All-Rounder. This simply adds 1 to 3 different base ability scores, meaning you can get more of your 8s into 9s and, like it suggests, be an all-rounder. Next is Robust. This, much like All-Rounder, is very simple. It adds 3 physical defense to your character. As a quick reminder, defense takes away its amount to any damage you take of that type, meaning this will help you ignore more damage from slaps and bites. Very good for beginners and frontlines. Next is Snap Judgment, which again is very simple. This adds 3 to your action score, which is how early you take your turn in combat, meaning this lets you kill stuff before they kill you. Unlike Robust, this is very nice on all characters instead of mainly frontlines. Lastly is Battle Arts. This is, in my opinion, the strongest if you're using weapons, as it gives you a +2 to all hit checks with all weapons, meaning you're more likely to hit with them. Very useful. This leaves native as the most simple by far, but also strong due to how strong these simple buffs can be to so many playstyles. Next race is Reincarnated, which again is pretty self-explanatory. You are a human who died and was reincarnated into this world by one of the goddess. So yes, you could just make yourself, although that could be a bit boring. As for their stats, they get a 9 in dexterity and intelligence, a 7 in mind, and finally a 8 in the remaining stats. This leaves Reincarnated as pretty good spellcasters actually, along with maybe thieves. However, that lower mind could be a problem, as you'll have less mana to play around with. Their skills are the following: Reincarnation Perk, Power of Destiny. This simply gives you another blessing. A what? Well, a blessing is used to reroll if you decide to after seeing a roll, or can be used to do extra actions in battle. They, however, can only be gained through skills which are very rare, or through getting one instead of a skill point at leveling up. Meaning they tend to be hoarded, for good reason, but from my experience it also makes you just not want to ever use them, so game masters take note. Reincarnated Perk, Weapon. This skill is a bit more complicated. Once you've made your character, you pick a weapon you have, you then add +2 to its attack power, so its damage it will deal. Due to this being a one-time thing, I honestly would skip over it, unless you're playing the one session or know you won't change weapon anytime soon. Much like that is Reincarnation Perk, Armor, which lets you select a piece of armor you have and add +2 physical defense and +1 magical defense to it. Unlike weapon, I would take this if you're going physical, as thief and warriors get stuff like bucklers which don't get upgraded, meaning there is not reason to change them in the first place, so the drawback of it's only on that buckler is mitigated. Lastly is Reincarnation's Insight, which you can only use per scenario, so in each area you can use this once basically. It lets you, after you see your roll for something, add 3 to the outcome, so maybe you just missed the boss, or you just failed that perception check, you can add 3 to it to make sure your important rolls happen, and since it happens once per scenario, it is much like a blessing, with none of the drawbacks. So where does this leave Reincarnated? Well, I'd say they are still aimed more at wizards or thieves due to their high dexterity and intelligence, but more so towards thieves due to their skills being placed on weapons and not magic. However, there is no contest to who does magic better compares to the Crimson Demons, the by far most complicated race, for good reason. They are people genetically made by a scientist to be magic casters, all having red eyes, brown hair, and even a barcode somewhere on their body they see as a tattoo or mark of power. They are almost always looking to make a scene, wanting to get attention and be cool. Take what you expect them to do, and turn it up to 11 is a good roll. As for stats, they have a 10 in intelligence and mind, making them again great spell casters with a lot of mana. However, their dexterity and agility are 8s, which their strength, perception and luck are all 7. meaning they are so invested suited for magic, everything else suffered. This may seem to make them one-trick ponies, which most of them are, but the skills can fix that. Talks about skills, their first one is called ability specialization. When taken you pick 2 of your base ability scores, 1 to decrease and 1 to increase. You decrease the chosen one by 1, and increase the other by 4, yes 4, this being how they can change to be other classes, for example lowering your intelligence by 1 to get your dexterity to 12, letting you hit a lot more often. So this skill is a must-have for all Crimson Demons. The next skill is Great Magical Ability, which adds 5 mana to your maximum mana. It isn't like increasing mind, it only affects it once, making it useful, but not very compared to the others available. So I would probably skip over this skill if I was you. Next is Magical Genius, which adds 1 to all your magic checks, meaning your magical attacks land more, and your others work more often, meaning if you do end up doing magic, you're gonna be damn good at it. This is placed above Great Magical Affinity because if you land your spells more, you waste less mana, making extra mana not needed. Lastly is Heaven Sent Child of Destruction. It's a very elaborate name for a very simple skill. You gain +3 to all your magical damage rolls, meaning again if you do go magic, you will do a lot more damage. This along with ability specialization, these 2 are must-haves for all mages. Where does this leave Crimson Demons? Well, given their skills they are great mages, however can technically fill other roles. They may be great mages, but with ability specialization you can go from being super smart to being super tanky, making them surprisingly flexible given their background. Lastly, when you've picked a race you also get 5 bonus points to put into your base ability scores freely, letting you dump them all into one, put them into 5 different ones or anything in between. The only limitation at this point is on creation. You can only get a maximum of 13 in a stat, meaning you cannot just max out intelligence as a Crimson Demon, or max out strength as a native. It is a bit annoying but it helps you not become overpowered straight away and also helps you spread out your points. That is all you need to know about picking your race and stats. Join me next time to find out what each class does.